How's everybody doing today? Happy Friday, and thank you for joining us. We're excited to be back in 2023 doing these live events. This is our first live event of the year. I know we're pretty excited about it, and we hope you guys are too.
Sure, and we certainly thank you for taking the time to join us this afternoon.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Of course, we're going to be talking about a topic that doesn't touch everybody in the horse industry, but we felt like it was worthy enough to do this presentation because there's a certain percentage of the folks that's in the horse world that actually has brood mares and actually are producing foals.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. And even if you don't have a broodmare or a foal, this still has some really good information.
Sure.
Just to really help any horse owner in a way, because we're going to be talking about, a lot of the stuff we talk about nutritionally for a broodmare and for a foal can also be brought back somewhat to your regular horse.
Sure. In fact, nutrition not only goes a long way as far as the broodmare and the foal, but just the horse in general. Nutrition plays a tremendous role. And the overall health, well-being, and of course that most important thing, if that horse is competing or you're riding, then you've got to have some good quality feed or hooves under that horse as well.
Absolutely.
Nutrition has a definite place there as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, Mike, before we jump into the presentation, we've got a few just different announcements and things that we would like to make while we have you here. Well, first off, again, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to share it with your friends, and leave a comment below. Let us know where you're watching from. Of course, we're pretty laid back in these presentations, so feel free to ask a question at any time. We usually don't answer all those questions towards the end of the presentation, just for time reasons. But you can feel free to pop those in at any time. And we'll be happy to take a look at them and answer them. And of course, if we don't answer them, you can always message us or send us an email at cservice@lifedataLabs.com. Now, first off, Mike, here we are. We're in February. The year has started through. We have a big year ahead of us. And I know our travel starts pretty soon.
It does. In fact, we have just gotten back from the International Hoof Care Summit in Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
And now we're ready to hit the ground running, so to speak.
Absolutely. Right. We've got a lot of different shows coming up in March, and we'll pop up the dates here for everyone. This is where we're going to be in March, so we hope to see you at some of these shows. We're going, of course, all across the country, and Mike, here at the end of the month, you're going to be out of the country,
right,
in Canada.
Right.
So if you are going to be at one of these shows, please stop by our booth. Introduce yourself. We would love to talk to you. At these shows, it's either going to be Mike, it might be me, or Darren Owen, if you've ever met Darren. It'd be one of the three of us. We'd be happy to talk to you. Let us know you watch these live events, and we'll make sure that you don't leave the booth empty-handed.
That's right. We're going to take care of you.
Absolutely. Now, the next thing to talk about, of course, because if you didn't just look at those dates, March is pretty booked for us with travel. And so our next live event won't actually take place until April. But we're going to be talking about hoof abscesses and the environment.
Which is a very popular topic.
Absolutely. We posted some shorts this week with Darren actually working on a hoof abscess and talking his way through it. Those are 3 different shorts. If you haven't watched them, take a look at them. They're very interesting, especially if you've never seen a hoof abscess, and hopefully as a horse owner
you never have
to deal with that. But here, especially in the South where we're located, we have just been drowned in rain. Our fields are muddy and nasty, which of course leads to a lot of hoof abscesses for these horses. And so we're going to talk about not only hoof abscesses, but how the environment plays a role in that development of that hoof abscess, and what you can do as a horse owner to help prevent that, what you can be looking for, treatment and prevention and recovery. So that is now up. You can actually visit lifedata.live/FB event. That'll take you to the event. Mark yourself as going so you can see all the updates and different things that we post. And we will see you, I think that's the first week in April?
I believe it was the first weekend in April. I can't
7th.
remember. Yeah.
And so make sure to attend to that, because that one is going to be a really good one, and we'll probably have a ton of people on that one too. So that's one that you definitely don't want to miss. Well, Mike, I know that we're about ready to start this. Don't forget, we do have giveaways throughout this live event. So we're going to have our live trivia giveaway, which will take place during the presentation. We'll pause it and ask a trivia question. And the winner of that will be randomly chosen. If you get the answer correctly, you'll be put into a random generator. And if you win, you're going to win a t-shirt, a Farrier's Finish, a Life Data Hoof Clay, and a Compose. This is the giveaways due to international giveaway laws are only for U.S. residents. But we hope that you can enter that and win it and have a good luck there. And of course, we do have our grand prize giveaway. That link is floating at the bottom of your screen. Should be lifedata.live/win. You can enter that at any point in time, and we'll give the keyword to that here in a little bit.
Sure.
So, yeah. So we've got I think we've got people ready to go. We've got some calls here of can't wait to hear more about broodmares and foals.
Well, are we ready to jump in?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Let's jump into this. Now, Mike, when we think about broodmares and mares, of course, the first thing that we think of course, is that kind of reproduction. And so can you kind of start us there by talking about the stages of reproduction?
Sure. In fact, Will, if you will please bring up slide number 1 for us, please. We'll kind of take a look at the different stages or phases of reproduction when we talk about the broodmare itself. In fact, we could actually start with an open mare, or we could start with a maiden mare. Of course, an open mare could be a mare that's had a foal in the past. We chose not to breed her back, and so she's open at that point in time. Absolutely. Or this point in time. We could also have a maiden mare, which basically that's a horse that's never had a foal to begin with, okay? So that may be our starting point there, but as we get into the different stages of reproduction, once we get our mare covered and she's bred, then that mare's going to enter the first phase there, and that's what we call our early to mid gestation. And typically that's going to involve the first 8 months of pregnancy. Now, there's a little research that's been done that might suggest that that first trimester might be the first 5 months, and then we have what we call the mid part and then the last trimester. But whatever, our nutrition is going to change from the first trimester to that third trimester itself. So we're going to go from the early to mid gestation to what we call late gestation. And this is critical when it comes to nutrition and providing that mare with what she needs from a nutrient standpoint and also from a calorie standpoint. And that involves the month 9 through 11 there. And then our mare foals, we end up with this beautiful live foal that we're proud of. And then that mare enters the next phase or the next cycle, and that she's got to enter the lactation phase. She becomes a milking machine at that point in time, okay? Absolutely. And that's highly important, number one, for the foal itself, as far as the overall growth and development of that foal. That foal is relying on mom at that point in time for that food. And then from that standpoint, we may choose to have the mare bred at that point in time. And we may choose to do that on foal heat, which is typically can take place anywhere from 7, 8, 9 days after the mare is actually foaled. We can actually have her bred back at that point in time if we choose to do that, okay? And so the next phase, if we have the mare bred, then we actually have the mare. We actually have a foal by her side, and then she's actually carrying another foal inside her at that point in time as well. And then as we approach the 5th and 6th month of this cycle, it's time to wean that foal. Of course, we'll talk about this a little bit more toward the end as far as that process itself. And then that cycle goes back to that early to mid gestation. So that's kind of the cycle, the life of that broodmare itself.
Absolutely.
Just a continuous thing there.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this, Mike. Of course, we have, 6 different stages here that we've kind of broken this up into. Is there one thing that we can kind of aim those horse owners at of, this is what we need to concentrate on. This is what's important, the key factor in every single one of these stages.
In every one of these stages, the key factor is nutrition.
Absolutely.
Nutrition. And that might be a test question too at some point in time, okay?
Wink, wink.
Right, yeah, all right. So let's reiterate that one more time. Nutrition is the key factor in all the stages of reproduction in the mare.
Absolutely.
Nutrition, okay?
Absolutely.
And go ahead, Corey.
Well, I was just going to say, when we talk about nutrition, that opens up a wide array of questions and what kind of goals can these horse owners set up to establish proper nutrition to support these horses?
And that's a good question and a good point in itself. And we might ask, well, what is our ultimate goal when it comes to nutrition? And Will, if you will go to slide number 2, please. That is our ultimate goal there. That is producing a foal on a yearly basis. And that foal is going to be healthy. It's going to be strong. It's going to have a good skeletal system, a good muscular system, and that foal can grow off and at some point compete or whatever discipline we're raising that particular horse or that foal for at that point in time. So our ultimate goal, number 1, is to produce that healthy foal in itself. Of course, another nutritional goal is this. We mentioned the maiden mare and the open mare. Well, there is a nutritional preparation stage there that we need to prepare those in order for us to breed the open mare or the maiden mare at that point in time. So nutrition plays a tremendous role there itself. And another goal as far as nutrition, we want to get the mare bred or rebred, all right? And we want to provide the essential nutrition for the developing foal inside mom as well. And that encompasses providing the essential nutrients, calories, and milk production as well should be another goal once she actually foals that baby then. And then we need to, another goal from a nutritional standpoint is to maintain the mare nutritionally so that she can rebreed, she can carry the foal, she can foal, she can feed the foal, and go back as far as the cycle that we've talked about here. And then another thing as far as something that we need to be mindful of is that we need to provide the necessary nutrition to, number 1, maintain the mare, the foal that's by her side, and that new developing foal that she's carrying. So that should be some of our nutritional goals at that point when we think about this here. And I think, Corbin, it would be good if we took a break and asked the first question at this point in time.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, I believe you may have already given this one away, or at least helped out a little bit. So hopefully you were paying attention at home, because here is our first question. This trivia question is for U.S. residents only due to those pesky giveaway laws. But what we're going to do, if you answer it correctly, you'll get entered into a random poll, and we'll randomly pull someone from that list of people, and you'll win the Life Data t-shirt, the Farrier's Finish, which I've seen a few people, of course we talked about abscesses, and we've got a few people in the comments who said that they're having problems with that. The Finish is a great product for both prevention and recovery, along with the hoof clay. So both of those are fantastic topicals that are non-caustic. And then we also have our Life Data Compose, and Compose is actually a calming supplement. So it's not going to have a lot of those effects that like a tranquilizer or something like that would use. And it's a fantastic product just to kind of naturally calm that horse.
Right, sedate. Well, it doesn't sedate the
Yes,
horse.
yeah.
I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
It mellows the horse out,
Yeah.
and the horse can still fully function.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. Okay, so the first question, blank is the key factor in all stages of reproduction in the mare. One more time, blank is the key factor in all stages of reproduction in the mare. We'll give you about 2 minutes to answer that question, and we'll randomly select one of you who got it correctly, and go from there.
Sure. Should be easy and straightforward on that one.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Mike, I know, of course, our next live event, which is going to be in April, is going to be talking about hoof abscesses and so on. But while everyone's coming in here and filling things out, why don't you just kind of fill everyone in and give them a little bit of a synopsis of what we'll be
talking about well,
come April.
One of the things that we are going to cover in that presentation is prevention, number one. We know that it's a whole lot easier to prevent an abscess than having to deal with a full-blown abscess itself. In fact, some of these abscesses, depending on where they enter the hoof capsule and where they actually exit that hoof capsule, can take up to a year to fully regrow that hoof back out. And a lot of times before the horse can go back to working and performing at that point in time. So if we can prevent it, then that's what we need to do in itself. And of course, we're going to talk about some things that we can do as far as prevention, and nutrition is one of the things. And we always want to end up with a good quality hoof, a healthy hoof. And if we have that good quality healthy hoof, then we're less likely to have the abscess. And an abscess is simply, it's a bacterial invasion where we have part of that capsule, either the sole or the hoof wall itself, that's been compromised, and we've got bacteria that has entered. It sets up shop, it sets up the infection then. And of course that infection will continue to grow. It puts pressure internally, and it's extremely painful for the horse at that point in time until that pressure is actually relieved. And then we've got to deal with that after it actually ruptures as far as the exit wound itself. We'll talk about some topicals that we can actually apply, and Corbin has already alluded to those as well. So that's some of the things that we will talk about when we in April.
Well, good deal. And again, that live event, the next one is scheduled. It's up. You can go ahead and mark that as going. You can go to lifedata.live/FB event, or just go straight to our Facebook page. I know a lot of you are already watching from our Facebook page. All right, well, I believe we have a winner. Let me get Will here to throw it up for us. And of course, the answer is nutrition.
That's right.
Nutrition is the key factor in all stages of reproduction in the mare. So nutrition is extremely important. And our winner is Stacy Koperna. I hope I said your last name right. Congratulations, Stacy. Send an email to cservice@lifedatalabs.com. That email address should be scrolling there at the bottom of your screen as well. In the subject line, put live giveaway winner, and we'll need your t-shirt size, and we'll need your shipping address. And again, you're going to win the T-shirt, the compose, the finish, and the clay, which is a nice little pack there for you. And again, just a reminder to everyone, when you win something, we have you email us from C-Service, or we'll email you from C-Service at lifedaylabs.com. We won't private message you. We will not ask for a credit card. We will not do anything along those lines. So if you ever get a message like that from someone that looks like us, it's probably not us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mike. Well, that answers the first question.
We have 2 more left.
So we have 2 more left, plus the grand prize giveaway.
Sure.
So don't lose hope yet. You still might win something.
Sure.
All right. Let's jump into this next one. And that word is, I can't read that.
Commonalities.
Commonalities. I couldn't read your writing.
I have a problem sometimes writing.
Yeah. Well, Mike, we did talk about the differences and some of the what they need to focus on.
Right.
So what are some of the similarities or commonalities?
Sure.
Of
Between
the
all
of
these stages of reproduction.
Yes,
And there's several that involve all of these different stages themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, let me answer this one question real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
We had someone ask, can Compose be fed with Farrier's Formula DS plus joint? That's a yes. Compose can be fed with any of our other supplements.
Sure.
So that can be fed safely.
And Compose can be fed on a daily basis or
Yes.
a per activity basis as well.
Absolutely.
Either way.
You want to do it about 1 to 3 hours before on an empty stomach. And you should know whether or not it's going to do what you want to do it with the first try.
Right.
So
Sure. Yeah.
all right. So commonalities of the steps of reproduction.
Okay. All right. Slide. Let's put let's put up slide number 3, please.
If y'all can't tell, it's been a while since
It's been a while since we've done this, and it is Friday afternoon. Yeah.
It is.
And it's late for us, by all means. But the first commonality that's true for all stages of reproduction is body condition score. Body condition score. And we know not only does body condition score have a tremendous role when it comes to reproduction, but if you're just a horse owner and that's all you have is just a horse and you're not producing foals, body condition score is tremendously important to you as well. Maintaining that correct body condition score. Now, of course, we preach this over and over and over again. We're shooting for a body condition score of about a 5 to 6 at the most.
Absolutely.
And anytime we get into that 7, 8, and 9, we're looking at an obese horse. And we know if you just if you're not producing foals and you're just a horse owner, once you get to that 7 and 8 and 9, that's totally unhealthy for the horse because you're setting yourself up for some metabolic issues down the road at some point in time.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's go back to the mare now.
Okay.
So our goal is to maintain at least a body condition score of a 5 or 6. I would personally lean toward a body condition score of 6 myself. In other words, a body condition score of 6, we do have some condition. We do have some fat cover on the horse itself. The tail head is going to be soft. It's going to be spongy. The ribs, if you feel those, we can feel some slight covering there as far as condition there as well. And we'll go into more detail as we look at the different stages, okay? And we'll take the different stages one at a time here in a few minutes itself. But once again, we want to maintain a body condition score of at least a 5 to 6 through the entire cycle of the mare itself. And if we have the maiden mare or that open mare, then sometimes we're going to have to start well in advance and from a nutritional standpoint and supplying sufficient calories to get them to that 5 or 6 if they're not there already, okay? And there's reasons for doing that, okay? So if we have this, say, body condition score of 6, that horse is going to be moderately fleshy. And the reasons that we keep a horse there is that horse is going to cycle earlier in the year to begin with if we're going to rebreed at that point in time. That mare is going to have fewer cycles per conception as well. And not only that, we're going to have a higher pregnancy rate, and that mare is going to maintain that pregnancy more easily than a thin mare is going to. All right? Mm-hmm. Now, if we have a thin mare, and we can actually end up with some problems when it comes to the foal itself. We're going to have a higher instance of embryonic death in the thin mare. We're going to have a lower birth weight in that thin mare. She has no energy reserves to carry her through the lactation and the rebreeding process. She's going to have a lower resistance to infection. There's going to be fewer antibodies that she's actually going to pass on to the foal at foaling, which that foal needs the first milk or that colostrum from the mare itself. And we're going to have lower milk production. Lower milk production means less food for the foal itself, and that foal may not grow off as quickly as we would like then. Of course, the thin mare is also going to have a lower conception rate. She's going to have more cycles between conceptions, and she's going to a lot of times cycle much later in the year versus that body condition score of 6 or that fleshy mare itself. So one of the commonalities is body condition score, maintaining that body condition score the entire cycle of this circle that we've been talking about there. Another commonality is that we're all going to focus on a forage-based diet. That is the basic diet of any horse. So we're going to focus on forage number 1, green grass, that's going to be rich in certain nutrients as far as minerals, vitamins, which that mare is going to need. And we're also going to complement that during the winter months with some good quality hay, whether that's just good quality grass hay. Some areas of the country we have to use some alfalfa because that's what's available in those particular areas, or an alfalfa Timothy mix. So a forage-based diet. All right. Another commonality with all the stages of reproduction is nutrients. And when we talk about nutrients, we're talking about minerals that mare needs, certain minerals in the right proportion and ratio to each other. There's going to be certain vitamins that horse is going to need, such as A, D, and E. And then that horse is going to need certain amino acids, fatty acids as well when we talk about nutrients. Another important thing, which is common to all phases, again, is going to be protein. Mm-hmm. And our protein level is going to change as we continue around the circle, okay? Energy, calories, another important item that we need to focus on, because the energy or calories is going to help us maintain that needed body condition score, okay? Mm-hmm. We don't think about it, water, okay? When that mare enters that lactation phase there, she's going to produce up to 4 gallons of milk per day. 98% of that is going to be water itself. So this mare, when she's lactating, is going to need right at 3 times more water than just the typical average horse during this phase itself. And another commonality, and we don't think about it, is simply salt, free choice. So these are some of the items here that's we're going to focus on in all those different cycles there itself. Okay?
Absolutely.
And I've got on my notes, we're ready for question number 2.
Question number 2?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I hope everyone paid attention because
Sure.
we're at question number 2 now. And if you've done these live events before, then you know Mike has probably already given the answer at some point in
I
time.
hope I have, yes.
So question number 2, submit your question or the answer in the comments. Those who get it correct are going to get put into a random drawing for our next live event giveaway, which is again the t-shirt, the compose, the finish, and the clay. And so question number 2, you have 2 minutes to answer it. And again, this is for the U.S. only. We apologize to any of our internationals who are watching today. Unfortunately, just due to those international laws, we can't do giveaways worldwide. Okay, so question number 2. Mares need to be maintained at a BCS of what? So we got the BCS, body condition score, is between 1 and 10. 1 at 9, I'm sorry.
No problem.
1 being the lowest low end.
That's
you
right.
definitely don't want a 1, and 9 being extremely overweight.
Sure.
So what body condition score do these mares need to be maintained at? You've got 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mike, I know that, of course, we have our giveaways here. One of those being the compose.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, I guess we could have talked about this a little bit during our last live event when we came to the myths and so on. But there's a bit of a theory going on that some of these broodmares have a little bit more of a temperament than some other horses. And how does feeding compose with those broodmares go?
There would be nothing whatsoever wrong with providing compose to a broodmare whatsoever, you know. And it's all natural ingredients. It has some tryptophan, magnesium, and thiamine in it, which should be in the system of the horse already. Okay? So all we're trying to do when we provide the compose to the mare or any horse is try to make sure that that is within the system of the horse. And we know that all 3 of those ingredients are key nerve regulators for the horse itself. And yes, there is a myth out there that mares can be a little ornery or whatever, and that could be due from the hormonal change, so to speak, at different times during her cycle. And we have some that's just that way, period, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But across the board, that's not true of every mare by any means.
No, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the compose is great, especially if you've got that farrier coming out, and maybe doesn't like to have the shoes trimmed or
Sure.
dental appointment
Right.
or trailering. It's a really great product. So that person who wins this one,
Sure.
I hope that you give it a try. And
of course, when we talk about the broodmare, a very stressful time for the mare and for that foal is at weaning. So, it might be a good option for the mare and even the foal at that point in time to help lessen that anxiety that's taking place there until we fully get the 2 separated from each other. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, how young can that horse be when you start doing the compose?
I would say, I don't know that there is a certain age that you can actually start the compose itself. But one of the things that we have to do with a foal, number 1, is to trim those hooves on a regular basis to keep them balanced as well. And sometimes that can be very stressful to the foal itself and can be very stressful to the handler and the one that's actually doing the trimming at the time. So, you might want to try it a little bit at that point in time when you start that process as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I believe we've reached our 2 minutes. And so mares need to be maintained at a BCS of 5 to 6. So I know Mike here, he says he prefers the 6. But if you put 5 or 6 or you put both, that's the correct answer. Our winner is Deborah Foster. Congratulations, Deborah. You can email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. That email address should be scrolling at some point in time at the bottom of your screen to make sure you got all the spelling and everything correct in that email address. And the subject line, you can put live giveaway winner. We need your t-shirt size and your shipping address and maybe your telephone number. But include those and send that email, and we'll make sure to get this out to you as soon as possible. We still have one more of the live giveaways, and plus our grand prize giveaway, and that link is floating at the bottom of the screen as well. It's lifedata.live/win. Just open up a new browser, put in that link, and that'll take you straight to the giveaway. And that'll be a grand prize, and the keyword we'll be giving a little bit more towards the end of this presentation. All right. Well, Mike, you want to talk a little bit about some open mares and maidens?
Right. In fact, we'll take each of those different phases or cycles or stages, whatever you want to call them. And let's talk about the open mare and the maiden mare, okay? And of course, we've already alluded to this a little bit earlier concerning both. But if we have the open mare, the maiden mare, and we've decided, well, we're going to get her covered, we'd like to get her bred, then a lot of times this is going to start at least 4 to 5 months in advance of that. And we're going to start from a nutritional standpoint itself. And as we have said earlier, if we have a body condition score of less than 5, then our goal is to provide enough nutrients, especially calories, to get that maiden or that open mare up to that 5 or that 6. And we're going to have a greater chance of getting her bred at that point in time, okay?
Absolutely.
So we've got to do some advanced planning. Number one, we want to work toward achieving the right body condition score. Number two, and of course, once we do that, that's going to help with the onset of estrus, her cycling, the conception part of it as well. And then as we continue into her cycle after we get her bred, we're going to monitor the body condition score. We want to maintain her at that proper body condition score as well. And of course, we're still talking about the forage-based diet.
Absolutely.
For this particular mare, and we're also talking about a balanced diet as well, where everything is balanced as far as protein, mineral, vitamins, amino acids, all of that, and energy itself, okay? And then we need to make sure that our open mare or our maiden mare is, from a health standpoint, is current as far as vaccinations and the worming program as well. So that's kind of some of the things that we want to focus on there in preparing the open mare, the maiden mare, for breeding, okay? Getting her ready at that point in time. And of course, once our mare is bred, then we enter the early to what we call the mid-gestation phase of the pregnancy of the mare itself. And of course, if we could weigh the fetus at this point in time in the early stages, we're looking at a fetus that might weigh up to 5 pounds at that point in time. And of course, during this particular phase, there's less nutritional stress upon the mare at this point in time because we're in the early stages. We have a very young fetus at this point in time that's not requiring and demanding everything nutritionally from the mare at this point. So there's less stress nutritionally at that point in time. And when we talk about feeding this particular mare during this early stage, we're only looking at about 1.5% to 2% of the body weight in feed on a daily basis that we're going to feed her as well. Of course, it all goes back to a forage-based diet as well. We're going to provide the energy or calories that she needs to maintain, once again, that proper body condition score. And we want to be very careful during this stage that we provide a balanced diet, that we don't over supplement the horse at this point in time. And of course, that can have a direct influence on this small fetus that's growing at this point in time. So not only does the over or under supplementation affect the mare, it also affects the growth of the fetus as well. Okay?
Absolutely.
And when we're talking about the early phases, let's go to the mid part, what I call mid-gestation there. We might refer it as the second trimester, okay? And some further research that has been done would suggest that there may be a little more fetal growth that's taking place at about month 5 than we previously thought. In fact, some of the things that we have read and studied is that the last trimester is when we had the most growth of the foal itself within mom. But there's some newer research that would suggest that it may be a little bit earlier, maybe during this early part of the mid-gestation phase as well. And of course, our nutritional level is going to change. Our nutritional demands at mid-gestation are going to be more at this point in time as well. And this is the point where that foal may be taking off as far as its growth, its size, its skeletal development, its muscular development as well. And it's extremely important that we are providing the right nutrition, the right nutrients at this point. And we are going to step up our feeding from that 1.5% to 2%. We're going to about a 2 to 2.5% on a daily basis as far as the weight of the horse during mid-gestation as well. It's also extremely important as far as our protein level. We need to be mindful of that the mare is receiving the right amount as far as vitamins, also minerals, whether that's a macro mineral or whether that's a trace mineral. And all those are extremely important for fetal tissue growth at this point. And we need to, when we talk about minerals, we need to be mindful of that calcium phosphorus ratio, copper, zinc, manganese, selenium, all have a role in the development of this foal at this point in time. And Mr. Will, if you will go to slide number 4, please. Okay, we're now in that last phase, okay, late gestation. Basically, that's about 9, 10, 11 months along. We're getting close to foaling. Of course, once again, we still need to maintain that proper body condition score. Our feeding level is going to increase from about 2.25 up to about 2.5% of the body weight of the mare on a daily basis. That mare is going to require more protein at this point, vitamins, minerals as well at this point in time to maintain her and to feed this foal inside the mare at this point in time. Of course, another problem that we run into, especially as we approach the foaling date, is that we have been relying on roughage, on forage for that mare to consume. But as that foal grows within sight of the mare, it's putting pressure, it's taking up room along the digestive tract of the mare. So she's not able to consume what she did at an earlier stage in her pregnancy. And so at this point in time, we might have to step up as far as the grain. We may have to increase that as well so that she's maintaining her body condition score. She has enough energy that she's consuming that's maintaining her and feeding the foal at this point in time as well. And of course, during this last trimester, we know that we have the accelerated growth of the foal, and that foal can be gaining anywhere from 3/4 of a pound to a pound per day at this point in time. Will, if you'll put up slide number 5 for me, please.
Mary calls this stage the nerve-wracking stage.
Okay, yeah. That's right. You're hoping for the best.
Absolutely.
And of course, Corbin, let me ask you a question too.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Never.
This is an easy one though.
All right.
But this goes back to what Mary just suggested there.
Okay.
When do most mares foal? When do they give birth? What time of day?
I would say night.
At night. For some reason, it's at night. Okay. In fact, some of the research that's been done on this study, it was suggested 80% of the mares foal between midnight and 6 a.m. in the morning. So if you're a horse owner and you have brood mares, a lot of times you can have some very long days there if you're watching the mare. And I've done that many times. I've watched many foal at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah. So that's just a side note there. Okay. All right. Okay, slide number 5. This is what we're after here. We want mom in the right body condition after she is foaled. We want a good healthy foal there. And then we have entered another phase, another stage of the reproductive cycle, and that's the lactation cycle. That's when our mare is producing the necessary food for that baby at this point in time. And she's basically going to do that for at least the first 3 months of the foal itself. And then at some point at an early stage, that foal is going to get a little curious. It's going to want to nibble on what mom is eating as well, the mare is eating, and that foal is going to make a slow adjustment there. Where we're going, the foal is not going to rely on mom as much, but from what's being provided, as far as feed itself. But when we talk about the lactation phase there, we want that mare to be in fleshy condition at that point in time, because during this phase, this puts the greatest nutritional demands on the mare than any other phase of the reproductive cycle.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It takes more energy to produce the milk to feed the foal at that point in time. And it's sad to say that a lot of times our mares are underfed at this point in time. They're not receiving sufficient calories to maintain themselves. And if we're not providing sufficient calories, then that mare has to pull from her reserves out of her body to produce this milk that foal needs at that point in time. In fact, when we talk about the nutrient requirements or the energy requirements of the mare, a lot of times this is going to far exceed a hard-working performance horse. So that's the energy needs that's demanded on the mare. And this happens overnight too. It's not a slow, drawn-out process. Once the mare foals, then that's her next immediate step in feeding the baby there. And if we take a look at the first trimester versus this stage here, our energy needs have tripled. So we've got that much demand that's put on the mare, along with the protein, vitamins, minerals. The demand is going to go up by about 25%. Okay. And if our mare starts losing weight, if we can see the hip bones, if we can see some ribbing, then we need to increase that energy level or the calories that we're providing the horse at that point in time. And a lot of times that energy is going to come in some form of grain that we're going to provide. And a lot of times we're going to have to feed up to 3% of the body weight of the mare to maintain her and to allow her to produce sufficient milk for the foal itself.
Absolutely.
And I'm ready for question number 3.
All right, question number 3. All right, you're going to have 2 minutes to answer this question. If you answer it correctly, you'll be entered into the pool to see if you win the last prize pack of the evening or the afternoon. We've got the t-shirt, the Compose, the hoof clay, and the Farrier's finish. And again, this is for U.S. residents only. I can't apologize enough to those watching internationally. All right, question number 3. What stage of the reproductive cycle puts the greatest nutritional demands on the mare? What stage of the reproductive cycle puts the greatest nutritional demand on the mare? You have 2 minutes, and good luck. Now, Mike, you talk about this nutritional demand and possibly having to increase the calories to this mare, and going back from this nutritional standpoint and doing the natural diet of grass and hay. Is there any dangers that can be anticipated if they're increasing calories with a complete feed?
Yes, they are. In fact, if you're using a complete feed and you're having to increase calories, and you're doing that by increasing the feed amount of this complete feed, a lot of times we're going to over supplement the horse as far as mineral, vitamins, and amino acids at that point in time. Okay. If you're feeding a complete feed, there are certain feeds that are designed for broodmares themselves, and if you will follow the directions, a label, it's going to tell you how many pounds on a per day basis to feed to meet the nutritional requirements of the horse. If we have to feed under that, then we're under supplementing the horse, and if we have to feed more, then we're over supplementing the horse itself. So that can create a problem in itself. Yes.
So basically, those calories and nutrients are tied together.
They are, and we're unable to separate the two. Okay. Absolutely. And so when we decrease our feed from what we should be feeding daily, then we're cutting ourselves short calories. Yes, that was our goal, but we've cut ourselves short nutritionally. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And true, if we have to feed more, we're over supplementing at that point.
And that's why we encourage the natural diet, the grass and hay, because that enables you to separate the calories and the nutrients and control them.
Yeah. And that leads us into one of the products that we have here, and we'll point it out toward the end of the presentation. But it allows the product that we'll talk about will provide the nutrients that horse needs that's not going to be found in that green forage and hay itself.
Absolutely.
Okay?
So you can continue to increase that, increase the grass and the hay and the calories, and then just continue to maintain that same level.
Right.
Of nutrients.
We're going to maintain the same nutritional level when it comes to mineral, vitamins, and amino acids.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm sure we probably have met our 2-minute time frame there. So what stage of the reproductive cycle puts the greatest nutritional demand on the mare, and that is lactation, milk production. That's the area that we're really concerned about at this point in time, where those nutritional demands can really take a toll. The winner of that, hey, Will, can get you pull that up just a little bit?
Shannon.
I've got the last name blocked. There we go. Shannon Burden. Congratulations, Shannon. Email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. On the subject line, you can put live giveaway winner. We'll need your t-shirt size and your shipping address. And that email address is scrolling here at the bottom of the screen. If you didn't win one of the prizes today, I apologize, but congratulations to the winners. We do have our grand prize giveaway at the end that we'll talk about a little bit more towards the end. But you guys can begin registering for that at any point in time. The link for that, open up a browser and use the link lifedata.live/win. And that is also scrolling at the bottom of the screen. All right, Mike, well, we've talked about lactation. How do we begin weaning these foals
Well,
off of
that's a
lactation?
good question. In fact, we want to do that where we place the least amount of stress on the mare and the least amount of stress on the foal. Of course, we're still in that lactation phase there. Of course, that foal has relied on mom very heavily the first 3 months there. And typically, most of the time, we're going to wean anywhere at 5 to 6 months of age. So month 4, 5, and 6, that foal has already become accustomed to what the mare has been eating at that point in time. So we're ready to make the separation there. And one of the things that we can do to help the mare, and that is 1 week before our weaning date, we have been providing some form of grain to the mare, for calories. And so we need to reduce that by 20% at that point in time. And that's 1 week before weaning. 3 days before weaning, let's cut that another 20% again. So what we're doing is reducing calories to the mare. What that's going to do, it's going to help reduce milk production as well, okay? And what that's going to do as we reduce milk production, it's going to help the mare dry up, number one. And if we can help the mare dry up, we're less likely to have a case where we have a swollen udder or a mastitis that wants to set up at that point in time in the mare, making that mare very uncomfortable. Of course, where we have less milk that's being produced, that means the foal is receiving less, and that foal is having to rely more on feed, okay? And the foal is becoming more accustomed to that as well. And then after we have made the separation there, we're going to keep the grain away from the mare at least another 3 to 4 days, okay? And then we're going to gradually increase that back to where we need to be to maintain that proper body condition score at that point in time.
Absolutely.
All right. And of course, when we're talking about the weanling, we've separated the foal from the mom itself. There's nutritional demands that foal we need to meet in the foal itself. And that foal is going to be, we're going to feed that foal somewhere around 3% of its body weight during this particular stage here. Of course, we still want to rely on good forage, good hay, and basically what we want to provide hay-free choice to this weanling at this point in time. As far as the crude protein, we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about 14 to 16% on a daily basis. We need to make sure that the foal is receiving a balanced diet. We want to make sure that our mineral ratio is in the correct ratio and proportion to each other, especially the calcium, phosphorus, and the other needed macro and trace minerals as well. But bottom line, we want to maintain a balanced diet at this point in time in that weanling.
Absolutely.
And we're going to continue to monitor the body condition score of this weanling as well. In other words, and we want this as the foal reaches that yearling stage there. At that point, the nutritional needs will change at that point in time. And as that yearling becomes a 2-year-old, it's going to change again as well at that point in time. But it all relies on nutrition, proper nutrition, maintaining the proper body condition score. And I've always alluded to the fact that the first 10 years of the horse's life, how we treat the horse nutritionally and how we maintain the body condition score during that first 10 years is directly going to affect the latter part of the life of the horse itself.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right. Of course, some of the things that we don't want to do, and that is we don't want to feed our weanling in such a manner where we end up with what we call DODs, or this developmental orthopedic disease. We want to avoid that as well. And at one point in time, it was thought if we feed high protein levels, if we provided excess calories, or if our excess minerals as well, then that would contribute to the orthopedic problem there, the DOD itself. But some later research would allude to the fact it's not the levels, but it's the balance of the three in itself. In other words, if we're feeding a high protein diet, that's going to push the growth of that weanling itself at that point in time. But if we don't have the necessary minerals that's being provided in the right proportion and ratio to each other to keep up with this accelerated growth, then that's what creates the problem. So it's all about balance. It's keeping everything in balance and keeping everything in the right proportion and ratio to each other in itself. So our time is approaching the end here. And as we get down to the end, if you have any questions, well, please submit those, and we'll take a look at those here in a few minutes.
Absolutely. Just drop your questions in the comments. And here as we finish up, we'll make sure to ask Mike those and get his opinions. So feel free to drop them in.
Yep. And in closing, in summary, let me hit these points one more time, okay?
Okay.
All right. When feeding broodmares, we need to be mindful of body condition score. We need to be mindful of the stage of reproduction or production that mare's in and feed accordingly. And we need to feed quality feeds. We need to feed, our diet needs to be forage based as well, okay? We need to make sure that that is good quality forage. And when that forage is lacking, then we need to rely on some good quality hay at that point in time as well. The amount that we feed is going to depend on the body condition score of the mare itself. We have stressed the point that we want to keep our mares moderately fleshy for various reasons, as far as maintaining her body, as far as breeding the mare, as far as providing that foal that she's carrying with the proper nutrients, and for lactation and for the rebreeding process as well. If we are feeding groups of mares together, you know, we have some that's higher on the pecking order, and we have some that's at the bottom here, and a lot of times those that are on the bottom don't get what they need nutritionally because of the ones that are on top competing. So sometimes we have to pull those out that's at the bottom and feed them by themselves separately to make sure that their nutritional needs are being met at that point in time. Anytime we make a change in the diet of these mares, we always do that slowly over a period of time. Something else, we never want to feed more than 5 pounds of any feed at any given point in time. That's kind of what the stomach is going to hold at that point. Absolutely. And if we exceed that, then we're at risk of colic, we're at risk of laminitis at that point in time. And during the winter months, that's going to put a little more energy demand on the horse as far as the mare trying to stay warm. So during the winter months, if it's extremely cold, it might require an additional bump up when it comes to calories and energy, and that's going to come in the form of hay. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's where we're at right there, Corbin.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, Mike, what can we do for our horse owners to help support them during this time?
Well, there's one thing that we produce here at Life Data Labs. Are we going to pull it? Is it on the screen?
He's pulling it. Yep, he just pulled it up.
He just pulled it up. This is the product that we have alluded to here. It's called Life Data Broodmare and Growing Horse. Okay. It is a supplement. It's going to complement the forage-based diet that we're providing the horse here. What's in this 11-pound bag is nutrients. It's nutrition.
Absolutely.
It's going to ensure, number one, that the nutritional needs of the mare is being met, or even the foal and weanling and yearling or 2-year-old is being met on a daily basis as we feed this along with our forage. Now, there's another aspect to this particular diet here, and that's calories. And our calories are going to come from grain. And one of the safest things from our standpoint that you can feed a horse is whole oats. And our calories are going to come from the whole oats itself. And that's the only thing that we adjust in our diet per se, is the amount of oats that we're giving the mare to maintain that body condition for lactation. And if the mare is gaining too much weight, we cut back on oats. If the mare needs some additional conditioning, then we up the amount of oats there. Absolutely. So yeah, so this product here, the Broodmare and Growing Horse, forage-based diet, calories from oats, is the diet of the horse. Absolutely. Along with water and salt. So absolutely. Yeah.
Now, would you start feeding that broodmare at the very first preparation stage?
Yeah, if we're talking about the maiden horse, I'd start right there. We'd start right there at that point, and it would be fed continuously then. Sure.
And then you would also feed the foal that as well up until the year.
Sure. And of course, as soon as that foal gets big enough to start nibbling on what mom is eating, this foal is going to be consuming this product as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we do have our grand prize giveaway today.
Sure. Yeah.
And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be giving away 3 bags, 1 bag to 3 different people of the broodmare. And so you can actually go to the contest link there at the bottom of the screen. It's lifedata.live/win. You can go, take you to the contest. You'll sign in with your name and email address. It's going to have a few questions, a few little bullet points of things that you can do. Everything that you do increases your chances to win. You can just do the very first one, or you can do them all. The more you do, the more chances you have to win. For example, every time you share the link with a friend, they receive chances to win. You also have the keyword, which will greatly increase your chances to win. And so since you've watched all the way through this, we want to help you win. So that keyword is foal, F-O-A-L. That is the keyword. Pop that in. That will greatly increase your chances to win. Now, this contest is open until Tuesday at noon. So we're going to go live Tuesday from Facebook, and we'll announce the winners then. Again, we'll have 3 different winners. This is for the U.S. only, unfortunately. But we will announce the winners on Tuesday, and 3 people will receive the barn bag.
And we'll be glad to ship it to them free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Won't need any credit card information. All we'll need is the shipping address.
And if you have any mares that's in foal at this point in time, or if you've got some weanlings or whatever, it'll get you a start.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And of course, one of the things that I seem like I've mentioned over and over during the presentation was body condition score. This is one of the easiest feeding programs that you can utilize to maintain proper body condition score without over or under supplementation.
Absolutely. Now, we do got a couple questions in here real quick. Is there a different rule of percentages when feeding small ponies or minis by body weight?
You're going to feed by the weight of the horse, number one, but it still applies the same, yes.
Yep. Gotcha.
Yep.
So those percentages you talked about,
as far as what you feed on a daily basis are going to be constant, but you're going to base that upon the weight of the pony, whatever. So
absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. Can the barn bag broodmare be fed with Ferris formula?
Yes, absolutely. So if you have a mare that's got some hoof issues, yes, they will complement each other. You can feed them safely, yes.
And I know that's something that a lot of times we encourage, because some of those mares, is if they start becoming pre-metabolic and so on, they can start showing some of those hoof issues, especially when their nutrients are being challenged.
Sure.
And so feeding fair formula can also
And if
help
you'll
with that.
think about the broodmare, the weight that she has to carry,
Mm-hmm.
plus the weight of that developing foal. In fact, a broodmare, a typical broodmare, can gain up to 250 pounds, you know, during this gestation phase.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, that's like carrying a rider on her back 24/7.
Absolutely.
And of course, that puts more stress upon her feet or hooves at that point in time. So we need to have good, healthy hoof walls, good thick soles as well, and that's going to come about with various formula.
Absolutely. My horse is around 985 pounds. How many pounds of forage does my horse need per day? She is an easy keeper.
Well, did she mention she was a broodmare or just a horse?
Just says horse.
Okay, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 2% of the body weight of the horse.
Absolutely.
So if the horse weighs 900 pounds, 2% of that would be 18 pounds total, and that includes your forage, hay, and if you're providing any grain to the horse as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And we do, and if this is not a broodmare, then we do have another option, like it's called Pleasure and Performance.
Yeah, so that one's the barn bag pleasure and performance horse.
Right.
It's very similar to the broodmare.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I guess the broodmare is actually very similar to the barn bag. The barn bag came first, did it
Right.
not? And so, but very similar products. And this one, of course, is packed with more of those nutrients needed for that broodmare.
Right.
But both are excellent products. She is not a broodmare. So
Okay.
yeah, we're
Sure.
good.
1.5 to 2% of the body weight, yes, in total feed daily.
Well, Mike, we are reaching that hour and 15-minute point. So if we didn't answer any of your questions, if we happen to miss one, please send us a private message here on Facebook or email us at cservice@lifedatalabs.com. We'd love to answer your question. We'd love to help you out. So please send those. Don't forget about our next live event, which is going to be, what did I say, April, correct? April 7th.
Right.
Isn't
It's
that
the
right?
first week of April.
Yeah.
First Friday in April.
We just scheduled it yesterday, so
Right.
we're still learning the dates.
Sure.
That's hoof abscesses and the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, you know, right now, of course, we're talking about April. It's going to be early spring. We're going to see a lot of that melted snow in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a lot more rain. And if those pastures get any more wet around here,
Sure.
a lot of horse owners are going to be in trouble.
It takes a toll on the foot of the horse, yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a big event. We hope you can make it. Go ahead and over to that link that's listed there, and you can RSVP to that event. You can get all the updates if anything changes or we post anything or whatnot. Thank you again for spending your Friday with us, and or spending
Sure.
the weekend with us if you're watching this watching the recording and not the live event. We hope to see you guys Tuesday. Join
Sure.
us Tuesday and see if you were one of the lucky
Right.
winners of the Broodmare.
And if you have any additional questions after the presentation, well, feel free to contact us. You can do that through customer service, or you can do it on Facebook. Either way. So,
Absolutely. Well, have a great weekend, and thank you again.
yeah. Thank you very much for joining us.